myself Sonali Mahanta, and currently I'm working as a PhD research scholar at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. And my topic of presentation is exploring the digitally enabled content development of post-secondary learners, a mixed approach study. And I have divided my presentation into 4 parts. First is introduction, then research methodology, then data analysis, then findings and recommendations. So if we talk about introduction, here I mentioned about what exactly I'm dealing in this research paper. So digitally enabled content development can take place with or without technology, but is enhanced with it. Nowadays, the content development gets influenced mostly by digital mediums. Hence, this paper aims at exploring the post-secondary learners' digital competency for developing content concerning various topics in the domain of second language learning. In the present context, the digital assets are endless in number. Hence, this paper investigates the offline content creation with digitized techniques as well as its resources, and thereby tries to explore the material type as well as the consumption strategies of the post-secondary learners of English medium schools. My research methodology for this for the current study is that I took a mixed approach study, and this study aims at knowing post-secondary learners' technical and non-technical strategies for the offline content creation concerning a language task through an online platform with the help of certain features. The features taken for determining the learners' techniques aim at determining the reception, engagements, and the generation of the expected linguistic content through the online instructional resources. The current research is student resourced, and a mixed type questionnaire is being prepared for retrieving data on students' preference for different digital mediums through several strategies for the conceptual development. A total of 51 students from English medium schools are taken as sample for the study. All the students belong to the post-secondary level. Now, the feature description. As mentioned earlier, that I use technical and non-technical skills to measure the mode of engagement of the students with the current topic. So, in the non-technical skill, the features are data type. For the current analysis, data type signifies the medium as well as the format or presentation of information. This feature inquires the preference of data type for fetching desired information. The sources are categorized into 4 categories such as audio, visual, textual, and multimodal. Information finding skill. This feature gathers data on the learner's information finding skill and places them under 3 categories such as good, average, and low. Practical and functional skills. Practical and functional skills in the context of language learning suggest the capability of a learner to apply their digital knowledge in several other digital learning situations. Other such situations signify the learning context of other non-language subjects such as science, mathematics, and social science. Operational skill. This feature suggests for the learner's operational skills and has been placed under 2 categories such as self-dependent and needs others' helps. Then the next feature category elaborate on non-technical skills. The first one is the linguistic input. The input in linguistic context signifies several forms of language such as sounds, words, phrases, sentences, and many more. In this context, linguistic input seeks information on the kind of input a learner uses to search for relevant information. 3 linguistic categories are being considered for the current analysis such as words, phrases, and sentences. Preferences of material types. This feature refers to the preference for the material types that makes easier generation of thoughts in learners and thus add to the communicative ease of a learner. The communicative ease also determines the level of interactivity a learner develops with its reader and or audience. The material types have been divided into 3 categories such as written, oral, visual, and intermodal. Information gathering skill. This inquiry relates to a learner's potential to accumulate necessary target information and eliminate the unnecessary sections as quickly as possible without any deviation. Summarily, this skill can also be described as a learner's scheming as well as scanning abilities. Communicative efficiency. This feature signifies the ability of a learner to deliver a clear message in the allotted period after utilizing the digitally enabled content for further information generation. This feature summarizes all the above skills and presents as well as defines perfectly digitally enabled writing. So these are few of the features that I used and I based my questions. Those are included in the questionnaire to retrieve data from the post-secondary learners. So here are the few of the questions that I'm displaying. So this section is data analysis. So the first question was, which type of digital medium do you prefer the most for content consumption? The graphical presentation displays 55% of the learner prefer multimodal, that is the intermodal, which is an amalgamation of all kinds of materials like audio, textual, and visual that contributes the maximum for data consumption. Then the other content types such as audio, textual, and visual contribute 12%, 25%, and 8% respectively. The next question is, why do you prefer the particular source type of data extraction? And my options are, it induces easier generation of thoughts, the website is more appealing, more engaging, or highly interactive. So the following data shows that most of the students agree with option A, that that particular data usually induces the easier generation of thoughts for further content production. That's why they prefer a particular kind of medium for data consumption. Then the how do you rate yourself as a technologically enabled user? So 60% of the learners rate themselves as average for information searching skill, and an elaboration to this question will come up next, where I inquired regarding whether they need others' help or they are self-sufficient in finding the target information. So the next question is, how much interactivity do you find in the online platform for content generation? So 59% of the learners supported the moderate level because somehow they want to convey some their unease with the particular platform, so they did not get the choice for such interactivity. So 59% of the learners indicate that the online platform, whatever they are referring to, are moderate for their content interaction. Then the next question focus on, do you employ your online skills for tasks of non-language subjects other than linguistic purposes? Then most of the learners said yes, they use it. So the following this paragraph shows that 55% of the learners use the online content or refer to the online content for the conceptual clarity in scientific phenomena. Then 25% uses the internet for social science themes, and 20% go with the mathematical explanation for the content retrieval. Then the next question, which forms of linguistic input do you use the most for data retrieval? So most of the student opine that they use sentence level of linguistic input for retrieving any kind of data. How do you rate your information gathering skills? So the graph displays that 55% of the learners rate themselves as moderately competent in information gathering from internet sources. 23% of the learners consider themselves highly competent in retrieving relevant information from internet sources, whereas 20% of the learner considers themselves low in information gathering skill. Anyways, they are rating depending on their own experience with the online platforms and the way they retrieve the data from the online sources. How do you use the online data for an online offline content generation? So 57% of the learners reply that they do some kind of productive change with the offline content for producing the content in the offline level. into the source content, followed by those who produce a different content level, which is totally away, or which is totally different from the original source where from they have taken the inspiration. And 6% of the students say that they simply copy paste the thing, whatever is there on the online, they used to copy the same thing for the offline content production also. So does the internet sources better your content generation capabilities? So here also most of the students say yes, that is a very important and vital resource for generation of offline content creation. If yes, which of the following options suits you the most? The above graph illustrates that 44% go with the option C, where they are basically talking about that it provides a wide range of material in a short period. Then 31% support shortens the information seeking duration, followed by option B, which states that it lessens the effort. So this is a percent-wise division to represent that why students are referring to the online sources. So here are a few of my findings. Post-secondary learners prefer multimedia sources the most for content consumption in comparison to the other sources such as textual, auditory, and visual. When the learners are further inquired on why a particular medium is the most preferred by them, the majority of the learners go with the option that the preferred source for data extraction induces an easier generation of thoughts in the learners, followed by the other options. Most of the learners find themselves average in information searching skills through online sources. Most of the learners agree that apart from linguistic contents, they refer to internet sources to fetch clarification on scientific topics, concepts, followed by social science themes, as well as mathematical explanations. As far as the preference of the kind of linguistic input is concerned, the majority of the post-secondary learners also find that they prefer linguistic input in the form of sentences for the generation of the required information, followed by the phrase and word level linguistic inputs. This implies that if the learners will be subjected to content and function word differentiation, they will get easier control over the linguistic inputs. Thus, they will be more decisive and choosing. They will be more decisive for choosing the linguistic inputs. Apart from the information searching skill, when learners are inquired concerning their abilities on information gathering, most of the learners, that is 57% of the learners, rate themselves moderate in gathering information from online sources. Another finding regarding the learners' ways of textual production suggests that the majority of learners agree with making productive changes to the online content for the target offline content production, followed by those who prefer producing a different content from the sources and from those who reproduce the same content. So here are a few recommendations. A few recommendations depending on the findings concerning post-secondary learners' digitally enabled content creation have several pedagogical implications. A couple of recommendations are as follows. The needs of the learners need to be properly analyzed by the teachers before exposing them to the vast resource of online content. Different learners have different affiliations and preferences concerning a specific source type. Hence, despite practicing generalized remedial coaching, more learner-centered strategies depending on their differences should be adopted. As the findings from the data shows that learners have different degrees of skill concerning information searching, gathering as well as generating. Hence, all three skills need to be shaped and streamlined well for the success of the whole process of digitally enabled data production. Here are my references, and with this I will be concluding my presentation, and thank you very much.
So it is really interesting if you look at, she tried to explore the digitally enabled content development and mostly looked at post-secondary schools, English medium schools.
Yes, sir.
Sonali, I wanted to know from you that this, especially your data collection technique,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have followed mainly English-based question. So
yes, sir.
Your question, let's say, is it also you included some bilingual questions in your questionnaires? And other things, if you look at the post-secondary schools in general,
yes,
and and you are mostly emphasizing on the linguistic skills.
Yes,
And
sir.
in post-secondary schools, what happened? You have different stream,
Yes.
science, then arts and commerce.
Yes, sir.
So in your case, is it only you have interviewed those, let's say, participants whoever, participated in your study? Is it only art, like what is the stream, let's say? Is it science or only mainly?
Sir,
Because
actually, I included both arts and science students to gather better data. So that's why I incorporated that question, that apart from language content development, where are they applying it? Whether in social sciences or mathematics. This question actually project that thinking. I have included both the streams.
both the stream.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the nature of the digitally enabled, let's say, content development, I think mostly you have done based on the questionnaires, let's say the kind of preconceived questionnaires you do have in your mind, and just try to get it from that perspective.
Yes, sir.
Did you try to know from their perspective what they think, what should be there in the content, and that is what, because you have perceived and you question, and I think in my understanding you just simply send those questionnaires to those
Yes, sir.
participants, or
Yes,
did you
sir.
just also happen to go to those places and collect data, or just
No,
simply
sir. Just I just mailed the questionnaire. I haven't interviewed them.
yeah.
So if interview would have been done, then I think I would have got some bigger, better, and more intensive data concerning the questions, like the issue. But I just mailed the questions to them, and they just responded according to the questions only, sir.
Okay, so all the best. I think
Thank you, sir. Thank you.